Hey everyone, I am back doing it differently a little bit this week. Elsa couldn't make it, so I will just be doing a pre-recorded video for the Never Ever Met's episode 5, the Love Hangover. So it's the next day, and Sienna is saying, I'm disappointed, but I'm free. So I'm thinking to myself, she looks happy that he ended things because then in her mind, it seems like if he ends things, then it doesn't look like she's the bad guy. So Toronto then comes over, meets with Brandon and Sienna, and says, well, since there's no romantic connection, you gotta leave because the whole point is to build on the romantic connection that you already have. And since you're refusing to fight for any type of romantic connection, then you can't be here because that's the whole point. Like I said, and this should have been done 12 hours ago because the second that Brandon said that there was no romantic connection that he wanted to pursue. Um, so Brandon says that he's open to meeting someone online. Again, in the near future, Sienna says that she isn't in the short term, but maybe in the long run. Um, Taronda informs everyone that they are leaving and that the rest of the couples are going out later that afternoon for an activity. Aaron H then tries to talk to Diamond, and she is still pretty upset that he was mute the night before. And when she was trying to talk about someone else's relationship, and he's asking her, well, are you here for everyone else? Or are you here for us and for him? Diamond says that she's upset that because her name is in the mess. No, your name wasn't even in the mess. Or the reason why you're in the mess is because you decided to interject yourself into the mess. So I need you to stop. I need you to stop. All these people got a deflection problem. Every last one of these people got, well, I don't want to say every last one of them, but a good half of these people got deflection problems, and I need them to stop because this is quite ridiculous at this point. So she gets up, leaves the room, and he decides he's gonna go into the kitchen where everyone else is at and says, "You, Joanna, are fake as hell." And starts gets to hooting and hollering about everything he doesn't like about these people. And Diamond comes in, joining the mess yet again. And he eventually says, "Well, I should have backed up Diamond, and she's back there grinning like the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, and Josh is just back there eating his food. Like, I'm gonna stay far away from here," which I understand because either I'm gonna be sitting there just minding my own business, eating the rest of my food, or I'm gonna get up and leave because I can. One thing I don't like is everyone yelling in my ear. I mean, it's one thing when I voluntarily turn up music a little bit loud and want to listen to music loudly, but when I didn't voluntarily decide to listen to people yelling, that gives me sensory overload. So either I will get up and leave, or if I can, or I'm just gonna sit there and just mind my business because what I'm not about to do is get into people's business when I didn't ask to be in it. So, and that was the problem with Diamond the night before, is that nobody else wanted to be, no one just wanted to be in. Well, I guess maybe that is her point, is that everyone else decided they wanted to be in the Brandon and Joanna, Chris, Aaron, and Cynthia's issues, or whatever you want to call it. And they want to do that privately, but they didn't want to do it publicly. And that's where she is wrong. Is that you can talk about someone else's problems if you want, but I mean, if you're not really directly involved, there's you being in it is not really that good of a thing. So Chris is like, well, I didn't say anything but bad about Joanna. I was like, well, that's the problem. It's like the only reason why you're not really talking bad about her is because she's literally the only one of the women, or really the only one there, that is um, backing you up on your side. So Millie pipes up and saying, "Well, you only had nice things to say about Joanna, not Sandia," and calls him a B. And so he's like, "Well, I'm not gonna argue with a woman, but you will argue Sandia down about about how her feelings don't really matter. So which is it? You don't want to argue with a woman, or you don't want to argue with a woman who's actually making freaking sense, um, and who won't back down to you. So which one is it?" Um, I mean, so Sandia goes off by herself with Chris in tow, and she's like, "Well, I don't know why. Like everyone is just like, it was hard to follow because they were going this way and that way and this way and that way and this way. It's like it was just a lot, and she couldn't keep up, and she didn't want to get into the middle of it and all that stuff, and um, yeah, unfortunately, that's why a lot of people were trying to get into the mix of everything, was because of that. They were wrong, obviously, for getting into the middle of it, but the reason why they're so upset is because they see that you're upset about it, and because even though Diamond and Millie came up to Sandia the day before about the whole situation, um, Sandia still said, like Jay said in her live last night, that um, they still went up, even though those two women came up to Sandia. Sandia still said that she felt some type of way about the whole situation. So yeah, but like I have said, that the problem comes in when everyone tries to interject on her behalf when she is not vocalizing it herself. If she really has a problem with it, with any aspect of it or all aspects of it, she needs to stand up on her own 2 feet and say what the problem is. So anyway, moving forward, everyone then goes to the outing where Taronda is at, which is a place where they will explore and see if they have a true connection in real life, which means that they will tie one partner will tie the other one up, put a blindfold on them, and then do some sensual play with a feather. And it's around this time we learn that Joanna was sexually abused when she was young, and my heart broke for her in that moment, and I was feeling some sympathy for her, and that pretty much evaporates later in that scene. But before I get to that point, pretty much the people who decide to tie up their partners are Joanna, Chris, Josh, Diamond, and Millie. Um, so they tie them up, put the blindfold on, take a feather, and do some sensual play with like the feather over their partner's skin. And then once everyone finishes that, Aaron notices that everyone else is doing, some touchy feely things, and he's like, "Well, should we be doing that too?" It's like, and then Joanna's like, "Well, no, we shouldn't be doing any of that because we did what we were supposed to do." And she says that in the driest voice ever. So basically, all my sympathy dried up in that point, because this man and this woman have zero sexual or physical connection. Literally, they did what they were supposed to do, yeah, but that showed, like, she only did what she was told. Like, she didn't actually, if she didn't have to do it, she wouldn't have done it. Or if she didn't feel like she had to do it because she was being videotaped or video recorded, she wouldn't have done it. But because there was cameras there, she felt like she had to do it, or otherwise, obviously, she's gonna look like the bad, even worse than how she's coming off. So yeah, um, so he says in his confessional that there's no physical connection there, and quite literally that, I mean, and water is wet. Water is wet. The sky is blue. The grass is green. Literally, quite literally, it is so obvious. We did not need a recap of that. So, um, back to the house. Diamond says she won't bring up Joanna again since she is over it. I kind of doubt that, but I mean, I think the only reason why she may be over it is because Aaron finally backed her up. So Taronda speaks to Chris and Sandia and says that they have a relationship expert waiting for them, and they speak to Dr. Ramani. Sandia says that she is more vocal about her emotions and wants to talk about it in the moment, but Chris isn't that vocal, and because he's not used to what he says is he's not used to talking about emotions and all that, which is pretty self-evident, but and he feels like when she brings up discomfort, it feels like an attack. So Dr. Armani says, well, you need to be more empathetic to what she is feeling. You can't just steamroll over her, basically, and just dismiss her feelings. Well, she didn't say that verbatim, but that's basically what she said. And then Sandia says something along the lines of he should just get past whatever hurt that he faced when he in his past relationships or when he was younger. And Dr. Ronnie says, well, that's where your empathy should come in, is that you can't just get over that wound if he can't just get over that wound overnight. So that's where her empathy should come in, and she should have some empathy for her or him, and then just make sure that she shows him why he should trust her. So during that whole conversation, Joanna brings up a game where everyone has to write down something that they are curious about sexually. Joanna wants to experience an orgy, and Josh wants to experience a threesome. Big shocker, at least on Josh's part. So, the next day, Joanna says people have described her as a man-eater, and that when things progress too quickly sexually, she discards the man just as quickly. And she claims she wants different with Aaron J, but I'm not really seeing that, because she's not really choosing to do things to deepen the bond with him that will allow her to get to that point. And when I heard that, I was reminded of Austin and Becca from the most recent season of Married at First Sight. If you know, you know. So, because Becca was in the position of Aaron J, and Austin was in the position of Joanna, where Aaron J wasn't necessarily begging. Because that's what it was giving for Becca, but he's not necessarily begging for it. At least not as much as we saw of Becca during Married at First Sight. And maybe that's just because Married at First Sight lasted for literally 6 months. Or at least that season lasted for 6 months. And so obviously we saw it week after week after week after week after week of Becca saying to Austin, hey, you keep saying you're gonna want to you want to deepen our relationship emotionally, um, and you want to deepen it so that way you can get to the physical, but you're not doing anything to deepen that emotional connection. So it's just what exactly do you really want me to do at this point that will loosen you up? And we kind of got that a little bit of him complaining about it, but this is like the first time we've actually seen him express that, so it doesn't come off as begging yet. Not to say that it won't in the future, but or ever will, but basically equated him to Becca because Austin was basically doing the same thing as Joanna, where he was saying, well, I want to deepen a connection and so like you can get to that point, but we're not seeing anything. Um, we're literally not seeing anything where of you trying to, either hold his hand. Like, it doesn't even have to be like kissing. All you have to do is like hold hands or give a hug, or you can give a little peck on on the cheek or something. It doesn't have to be to the point where you're tonguing each other down or rubbing on each other's naked bodies or nothing, but something to show that you're interested in him in the physical part where it could get to eventually sex. And that's basically what we were trying to figure out with Austin and Becca, because Austin is claiming that he wanted he could see a future where they could eventually have sex, but he wasn't doing anything that could deepen that emotional bond to the point where he would be able to get to that point. And he was doing every little thing to not do anything with her. And so, of course, so yeah, I mean, it's the same way here, unfortunately. Um, anyway, so moving on from that, Ronald is Aaron H's friend, and he comes to visit. And Aaron says that he plans to propose to Diamond before the end of the process. Um, Aaron says Diamond's sister doesn't seem to like him simply because he said that he loves Diamond on social media. But and this is and I was thinking, like, right before Diamond's sister even says it, that I think it was because I think the reason why Diamond's sister says that she doesn't like you is because this was after the fact that he posted another picture, or posted a picture of a ring he was going to give to another woman. So we then see Irene's sister, or Diamond's sister, Irene, sorry, coming over, and literally they're talking about Aaron H and Aaron H and her and his relationship. And so she basically confirms the reason why I don't like this dude is because the reason why I don't like this dude is because of the fact that he had a picture of an engagement ring for a woman that wasn't Diamond, that wasn't her sister. So I was like, yeah, I called it. I called it. That has to be the reason why, because there is no reason why I mean, taking the fact that Diamond was basically telling her sister Irene about all this going on, she saw that on social media. So, I mean, yeah, that was just. I mean, there was no way that he. I mean, if you hadn't, because um for Irene, because she says this, that, well, he may have explained himself to Diamond, but he didn't explain himself to her. So how am I supposed to know that he explained himself? Because Diamond says that, well, the reason why I think I can't remember exactly what she said at the moment, but Diamond says, um, think she said that he proposed to the other woman, and from what I gather, I think it was because she was in the same city as him or something like that, and she was like, "Well, I don't want to get married to you right now," so he came back to to Diamond, and so she accepted it, um, and all that. I mean, Irene's like, well, I don't believe it because I mean, he may have explained that to you, but I mean, that sounds pretty ridiculous to me. So I don't really blame her for um, thinking that way, and then because it's just if you're really saying doing all this on social media and not really giving a heartfelt apology to everyone on social media too, then I mean I get it that this is their her relationship and all that, but it's just I mean you're literally doing this in front of her family and friends, whether it's virtually or not. You're still doing this in front of family and friends, and this is pretty bad. That's a pretty bad thing to do in front of friends and family, and you don't even apologize for it. So I kind of understand what she was saying about that. Now she was wrong for getting hyped up and Aggie pretty straight out the gate, and for what she decides to say after that point, but I understood her in this particular moment. And then Aaron and his friends, Ronald, then come up and kind of hear the tail end of that conversation. And so he's like, and I don't even remember like who started what. Um, well, maybe he did kind of continue it, but she kind of started it with like being having this attitude, and then he continued it, and he I don't even remember what all was said, but um, they started hurling insults at each other, and then all of a sudden she says something along the lines of, "And your ugly A kids as well." Now, how the hell did his kids come into this? Like, so like the kids are catching strays? Like what the like when did the kids come into this? Those kids had nothing to do with this. They have nothing to do with this, and you bringing up kids that are innocent in this whole thing. They didn't ask to be brought into this mess, so don't bring them into it. Like that's where she was all wrong. She's talking about like and your ugly ass kids too. I'm like, okay, now girl, you know you wrong. You know you wrong for bringing kids into this whole mess. Um, and they ain't have nothing to do with this. So I need you to sort of get it together because I don't understand how you can honestly bring in people that have nothing to do with this. You can have your feelings about what he did and how he went about it, and how he didn't really apologize to your satisfaction and all of that. But don't bring kids into this that had nothing to do with this. Don't, because that makes you look foul. That makes you look more foul than anything else. So, and then he just keeps egging it on, and it just went to hell in a handbasket at the end of this episode, and I was like, I don't know. I keep hearing about this network called Zeus Network, and I've never watched a thing on that before, but apparently it's giving that, and maybe it should be, maybe this show should be on that channel or that network, because this is some raggedy ass shit. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna keep it. Oh, I'm just gonna keep it real here. This is some real raggedy shit. I'm sorry. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. Um, but yeah. Hopefully, I mean, yeah. I don't know. And like I said, it's not real. I mean, I remember one thing from next week, which was Greg talking about something that some a trauma that he went through, and it might be that he maybe has gone through a sexual assault. I don't know, um, but I mean, at this point, maybe part of me is not would be surprised if some of these people have gone through a sexual assault, but I hope not, but it's, I mean, if two people already, oof, I really hope not. But anyways, that's all I have for this episode, and I will definitely be back next week, hopefully for a live episode, or live recap of next week's episode. Um, and I will see you guys next week.